2022 and 23, and also coordinated Postgraduate Center, Bangalore University, Ramanagara. He is currently working on a project on evolution of government hostels towards attaining SDG 410 and assessment of smart city project in Karnataka. He has undertaken research on issues covering environmental economics, health economics, public economics, and agricultural economics, like economics of biodiversity conservation, technical, social, economical, and environmental study of Sujalam Sufalam Yojana in Gujarat, global scoping studies on compensation Bhadra project, restructuring of local environmental management for better health outcomes towards a district pilot in Karnataka at ISEC, food security and sustainable production system in India and Canada, implications under trade liberalization at GIDR, effects of economic reforms on the health sector in India, evolution of regional development boards in Karnataka, state of environmental report and action in Karnataka at CMDR. He has been participating and presenting research papers in international and national conferences, seminars, and delivering special lectures in economic issues as resource person. He has been publishing papers in academic journals and books all over. So we welcome you for the session and we request you to deliver your presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirisha. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Kotigaru, who contacted me last week to speak on an issue, poverty, unemployment, and inequality, in the first webinar of the Sakshi Education webinar series. Sir, I would like to express my gratitude to you and the Sakshi Foundation, which is organizing this webinar series, and also Sirisha Vepur for a detailed introduction of me from Bangalore. Okay, so I would like to say that Professor Garu just now gave a very detailed lecture on distress in Indian agriculture in the present condition, and various issues he discussed or covered, and also giving some methodologies or measures to address those issues. So after listening to him, completely we are moving to a different type of topic where three different but interrelated topics are given to me: poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Though they look different, they are interrelated. So if you think that they are interrelated, they are different. So I try to take them separately so that we can try to understand what is the present scenario or depth of the scenario, what we are looking from poverty, unemployment, and inequality. So I'll try to touch upon these issues looking at the present situation, focusing on the recent literature or government reports. I don't want to get into the research mode because that will take more time and that will give more in-depth issues which I will not be able to cover in the given time. So keeping that in mind, so let me start with the first issue of the topic, poverty. What are the challenges? What is the status, challenges, and opportunities we have in the coming years, and what we have achieved so far, looking from different perspectives. So the present dialogues or discussions which are moving in and around about development are mainly concentrated around the sustainable development and sustainable development goals. We all know that by 2030, the United Nations Development Program and all other international bodies, they're arguing that by 2030, we need to achieve the sustainable development goals. So in order to have a sustainable development which is sustaining the present as well as the future requirements. So in keeping that in mind, so all the policy developments or all the programs are oriented to achieve these SDG 17 goals, which are defined in a very clear-cut manner. So which definitely tries to address the different issues of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. So in that context, there are attempts to address deprivations of people who are facing the problems, disadvantages, due to limited choices and opportunities faced by individuals, which all lead to leave the individual behind and unable to benefit from economic growth. So we all speak about economic growth and because of globalization and all that issues. So though we achieve economic growth, the individuals may be left behind because of several issues. So usually which deprive him or her from realizing the benefits of the economic growth, whatever we are seeing. So in that angle, so at least in order to remove the deprivations and disadvantages faced by the individuals, it is very much essential to address the issues of poverty. Because when an individual is poor, so it's a cycle, what we call poverty, cycle of poverty. So he will be a poor and unproductive. Because of unproductivity, he will be a poor. So several issues are other there. So in order to understand this poverty, or the depth of the poverty or extent of poverty, various efforts have been made. I'm not going in detail about the literature, but to mention few. In 1901, Dadabhai Nauroji spoke about inequality and poverty in India. So through his book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, so which actually started discussing on calculation of poverty, what is poverty and all that. So he used the cost of subsistence diet as a measure for measuring the poverty. Later in 1944, National Planning Committee, in 1938, National Planning Committee and Bombay Plan in 1944 gave their version of poverty or measuring poverty based on minimum standard of living. In 1962, a working group was constituted. In 1971, Dandekar and Rath Committee gave again the poverty definition and poverty lines and all that. There was a task force in 1979 to which was labeled as projections of minimum needs and effective consumption demand. So even this committee also gave, which was headed by Y.K. Alag, gave its own recommendations and this one. In 1993, Lakdawala committee report was there. In 2009, Tendulkar committee report was there. In 2014, Rangarajan committee report was there. So all these different committees are the experts. So they have tried to measure poverty based on income or consumption expenditure. I think different only almost all the reports concentrated on consumption or income expenditure as a major measure for measuring poverty. But in the later years, we understood that looking only income as a measure of rod for assessing the poverty or measuring the poverty line will not be sufficient, because apart from income, there are several other aspects which are qualitative in nature, which directly and indirectly contribute for poverty. So, from that angle, health, education, and standard of living were the major inputs or aspects, qualitative aspects or attributes, so which directly contributing for poverty or removal of poverty. So, with these three, health, education, and standard of living, several other issues like nutrition, child and adolescent mortality, maternal health, years of schooling, school attendance, cooking fuel, sanitation, drinking water, electricity connection, type of housing, or the type of assets an individual is holding, bank account. So these are all the different indicators which definitely tell us whether an individual is can he be or he she may be considered as poor or not. So taking all these different variables, the latest multi-dimensional poverty index, which is constructed by Niti Ayog of India, based on UNDP and Oxford University's recommendations, where there is a formula for calculating the multi-dimensional poverty index. So the Niti Ayog has come out with a report which state or which gives a glimpse of poverty-related data or information. So usually the head count ratio, which in poverty literature we read. So according to head count ratio, the poverty level in India has come down in 2019-20 during that period to 14.96%, which was 24.85% during 2015-16. So this headcount ratio, which definitely tell us the magnitude of the poverty, tell us that so many people are, so the number of people who are below the poverty line or who are poor. So this will, according to this calculation, about 13.5 crore or 135 million people are poor in India, according to multidimensional poverty index. But the Sustainable Development Goal 1.2 states that reducing multidimensional poverty by at least half of that. The condition is that by 2030, at least whoever is poor, half of the people should be escaped from the poverty. That's the condition. So if we take that SDG Sustainable Development Goal 1.2 as an objective or as a target, so at least definitely some achievement has been done in India. So if we take rural-urban scenario in terms of poverty line, so rural area is improving drastically as compared to urban area. So according to the recent report of Niti Aayog, in 1921 period, about 19.28% of the rural people were poor, which was 32.59 during 2015-16. So that shows that in rural area, a large number of people have been escaped from the poverty condition. So there are several reasons. I think I will be telling all those some of the schemes which have helped directly, indirectly. In urban area, obviously the percent of poor people are were less, and now also it has come down. So in 15-16 it was 8.65%, and now it is 5.27 in 1921 period. So that shows that in both rural and urban area, the poverty or the number of poor people have declined, come down, or have been reduced. So here we need to know apart from the magnitude of the poverty, so intensity of poverty also we need to know. So intensity means how many people are deprived. So in terms of schooling, in terms of health, in terms of drinking water supply, whatever other parameters which we discussed earlier. So according to that, actually this intensity of poverty, it measures the average deprivation among people living in multidimensional poverty scenario. So that shows that there is an improvement in terms of the condition the poor people were living. So it shows that about 44% improvement was observed during this period. So considering this multi-dimensional poverty index scoring, so it says that if the score goes beyond 33.33%, then the individual or the country or the state or district, whatever the unit of analysis we are considering, so that will be suffering from multi-dimensional poverty. So if the score is less, so based on the size of the score, if the score is less than 33.33%, then that region or country or district is showing some improvement. So keeping that parameter of MPI, so it shows that the present, that means 1920, 1919-21 period. So the MPI was 0.066%, which was 0.117% during 15-16. So that shows that according to the calculations of the Niti Aayog, definitely we see that there is a decline in number of poor people, which is measured considering several variables, not one variable. So in this MPI, again the rural area score is has declined in a very significant manner. So the rural area score is about zero point 0.08 versus that of 0.23. Obviously, as I told, urban poor people are relatively less. But the decline, the rate of decline, if we consider, rural area has seen more decline as compared to urban area. So if we look at that's at macro level. So if you look at the state level, so the states which usually called as Bimaru states in the economics literature, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan. These were considered as Bimaru states. So, but according to multidimensional poverty index, these states have performed very well in terms of reducing the number of poor people. I'm not saying that they have reduced drastically, but in terms of performance, according to the MPI calculation of Niti Aayog, yes, they have done very well. Particularly Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan, they have recorded a highest decline in terms of number of poor people. But the point we need to know is these states, uh, almost all these states, say that or show that their MPI score is more than 0.25 or 25%. So that shows that still large number of poor people are there in these states, in particularly northern states of India. So that does not mean that the achievements are less significant. The achievements are significant, but still a lot of achievement has to be experienced or met in the coming years. So the major reason or the factor which has contributed for this drastic decline, according to the report, are improvement in nutrition, which is very much essential at both the child and mother level. Years of schooling, because of enrolling, the gross enrollment ratio has increased because of various measures. I'm not going to deal with one. One is compulsory education, which was brought by Government of India. Sanitation, I think Swachh Bharat program is doing well, if not the target what the government is telling, but definitely a lot of improvement has been done. And cooking fuel supply, clean cooking fuel, what we call. Okay, so this has brought large number of women out of serious health issues, particularly if we talk, because indoor air pollution was one of the major issues, particularly for women. So because of provision of clean cooking fuel, particularly LPG, what we call. So that is also another factor which has contributed for decline in the number of poor people. So these are all the factors which definitely are playing their role. So apart from these northern states, Kerala, Goa, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, also Manipur, so Uttarakhand, all these states show less than 10% of their population as poor. So that means all these states, whichever I mentioned, almost all the southern states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, all these southern states definitely have less than 10% of their population as poor. So which is definitely a kind of achievement which all the southern states need to applaud for themselves. But apart from that, I'm not saying that they have already they can enjoy. No, because 10% is still a significant number if we consider the total population. So in that angle, we need to take that issue also as one of the important point for these states in order to reduce poverty. So poverty reduction is significant. What are the challenges and opportunities we may need to look at? Poverty reduction is significant due to improvement across sectors, but achievements need to be accelerated in covering. So we need not to be very happy about the achievement, but because still a lot of achievement need to be seen. So in which areas we can focus on in addition to whatever is being done? Water supply, sanitation, because these two are important factors which directly contribute for health in terms of collecting water for drinking purpose, like fetching from long places and all that, that has been drastically reduced. If you look at the data of census, where this basic amenities related data are available, we can get a lot of data on that. There is a lot of improvement in terms of coverage of habitation, households, and all that. Financial inclusion. So almost all the people have opened their account, but how much money is there? That is another issue which we need to look into. Then provision of education. Still, there are more number of children who are not able to attend to school. Several reasons are there. I'm as Shirisha was explaining. Recently, I completed one study for Government of Karnataka, which is yet to be finalized. So there we understood that government hostels are playing a major role in attracting and encouraging school education, school and both pre-metric and post-metric education. So that kind of interventions by the government are very much essential. Otherwise, there are several people who can be deprived from education. So my point is, so education, we need not to be very complacent that already we have got gross enrollment ratio to higher level and we can live. No, it's not that. So still lot of social measures required to enhance the gross enrollment ratio. In addition to that, increase in life expectancy is seen. I think 67 is the life expectancy what we are seeing. This is raising several issues, particularly for aged people. With increase in age, there are several issues of aged people poverty. Okay, what we call old age poverty. So there are several people who are poor and aged. So for them, we need to develop some social security measures in order to cover these aged people who are poor. It's not only age what is contributing. So there is urbanization, decline in the traditional family system where we had joint family and all that. Now we have nuclear family system, and once the son or daughter got married, they will move away, and the old person will be left unattended. So this kind of social evil or social problem is coming up nowadays. I think almost everyone is observing this. So these kinds of issues need to be addressed. Otherwise, more dependent will be poor. So if the more dependent are poor, then definitely there is a burden on the government and on the society. So for them, it's almost always necessary to see that there is some source of regular income for these aged people. Apart from that, health issues. So if we look at the health related data, non-communicable diseases are increasing. So these non-communicable diseases are not only for rich people, they are also for poor people. So more number of poor people are also suffering from diabetes, blood pressure, and other particularly what we call kidney related in general terms. So these three important non-communicable diseases are increasing in a significant range. So that has to be addressed. So the recent report, even we can see that in our latest economic survey of Government of India, mental health disorders. So mental health disorders are caused by several factors, maybe because of work pressure, maybe because of our lifestyle, and also because of the present day gadgets which we are using mobile, computer, and all that. So these are all the factors which are directly contributing for mental health disorders. So that is becoming another major health issue in the coming days. So all these issues need to be addressed because any expenditure on health, definitely it will be a direct negative impact on the family. In health economics literature, we call it as a burden of health. So the burden of health increases, then definitely the family or household will enter into the poverty trap. So if we have to address poverty, health related issues also need to be looked into. In all these issues, I am touching one and two which are important. I am not going in detail about all the points. Role of government is very much essential in terms of policy development and intervention. So developing policy will not help, but at the same time it has to be implemented. And through different types of interventions, poverty has to be addressed so that more number of people will escape the poverty line and they will live a better life. So that we'll see that the standard of living will be good and all that. So with that, I try to conclude this poverty related issues. There are several issues. What are the mechanisms and all that? So I think I'm not going to dwell in detail because there is a lot of literature on poverty. So for that matter, the subject of poverty is not poor. Okay, so the subject of poverty is not poor. My point is there are several theses, antitheses, there are several suggestions. So, but my what I thought, I will take only the present scenario what we are looking at because a lot of discussion is going on, and whatever it may be, whatever development issues we are discussing, so those issues will be revolving around poverty, unemployment, inequality because that is the more focal areas which directly help to achieve development. So apart from that, the second issue what was given to me is unemployment. I think these are interrelated. So they are closely related also. If an individual is employed, definitely he will try to overcome the poverty condition and all that. So keeping that in mind, yeah, employment is a tool or a strategy for eradicating poverty, if we can say. So I'll try to give some latest data which are available in the literature. So the current status of employment shows that periodic labor force survey, which is a recent one by National Sample Organization, it shows that there is a decline in the annual unemployment rate. So though marginally, it's not very significant because still around here is there, six in urban areas, 6.7% of the people are poor. So it declined, yeah, the unemployment rate declined to 6.7%. So which was 6.8% in the previous year. So that shows that the unemployment rate is declining, but not at the expected way. That does not mean that the policies are not working. Definitely they are working, but they have to work. So they have to accelerate the speed and the execution level, and the coverage and all that issues have to be taken care. This decline in the unemployment rate was accompanied by increased labor force participation. So the population is increasing. So since the population is increasing, we are getting more labor into the workforce. That more labor force should get the employment opportunity. So keeping that in mind, yes, there is an improvement in the employment scenario. So according to the this PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey, India's workforce is estimated to be nearly 56 crore. That means out of the total population, the remaining are dependent. In 22 20, 35% people were employed in agriculture. So this need to be taken seriously. The previous lecture, Professor Kotigaru mentioned agriculture in India is in distress. Yes, it is in distress. There are several reasons. One of the several factors which Professor has already dealt with. But here, the number of people dependent on agriculture is huge. So keeping that in mind, agriculture is one of the areas where several interventions can be made to convert majority or large number of people from agriculture to non-farm sector. So that way we can definitely shift the labor force from agriculture to non-agricultural activities. 45% are in agriculture, 11.4% in manufacturing, around 29% of the workforce is in services, all the service sector, and about 13% of the workforce is in construction. So these are the major areas where large number of labor in India are accommodated. So, so we can clearly see that agriculture still has been playing a major role as a source of employment for large number of people. So here we have a chance to shift several people or large number of people from farm to non-farm activities so that they will get an employment opportunity. So we can definitely directly attack on the poverty eradication issue and other related issues. So the next point, if we look at in terms of status of workers, employment status of workers, about 53% of the total workforce is self-employed. Out of the total employment, what we saw about 56 crore. 18.3% is working as unpaid workers, that is household enterprises and all that. They are working, but they are not getting. So casual labor comprises about 21%, 21.8%. Regular wage or salaried workers constitute about 21%. So this is the total workforce according to the employment status. Gender-wise, yes, female workforce is increasing. Large number of female are entering into the self-employment scenario, like opening shops or different types of activities which we can think of. There is a sharp rise in female labor force participation in the last 5 to 6 years, particularly driven by rural women joining agriculture and non-agricultural related activities. A rise of 16.9% between 2017-18 and 22-23. So there's some definitely a phenomenal increase in terms of female labor force, force participation, particularly non-farm related activities. So all this needs to be increased, considering it as an opportunity by enhancing services like drinking water, sanitation, cooking fuel, and others. So there is literature which clearly evidence that Provision of these these services releases women labor force to the market. So where a woman can shift from her domestic related activities to non other activities. So in terms of youth employment, if you look at, yes, there is a drastic increase in youth employment. According to the survey, labor force survey, youth which are aged between 15 and 29, the unemployment rate of them has declined from 17.8% to 10%. So during 2017-18 to 22-23, so there's a significant decline from 17.8 to 10%. So because we also need to consider the present demographic scenario. So large number of people are moving to the youth category. So because of the population explosion and all that. So these people are individuals who are coming to the labor force, newly entering to the labor force, should get some employment opportunity. So if they don't get, definitely there is a loss for the economy, both in terms of production, productivity, and also in terms of their own welfare. So keeping that in mind, the youth employment has to be increased. I'm not saying that it is 100%, it still needs to be increased. So rise in youth employment also reflected in formal employment figures where Employment Provident Fund Organization data reveals. So even in terms of this data we can get in economic survey of Government of India. So according to the data available in Employment Provident Fund, so there is a considerable increase in the number of people who enrolled for EPFO and get the benefit and all that. So that directly shows that yes, there's a government data, so which directly shows that yes, there is an increased number of youth entering into the job market. In terms of factory-wise distribution of labor force, if we see, so manufacture sector is one of the leading sector according to the annual survey of industries 21-22, which shows that the manufacturing sector has taken major share. Wage rate is increasing both in rural and urban area, but the increase is more in rural areas. So so in this scenario, artificial intelligence is coming up. So somebody is saying it is a boon. Some people are saying that it is a bane. So yes, the literature shows that definitely there will be a replacement of job opportunities. But in which sector, which area, or which form of employment opportunities will be lost because of artificial intelligence application? All that has to be studied. Still, a lot of yeah, research has to be done on that. And also we need to look at the growing gig economy in the scenario. So gig economy, platform economy. So the where more number of people they are entering the job and coming out, they adjust according to their requirement and all that. But that's significantly contributing for the economic activities. But we need to look at that. So as I told in the previous slide, promoting non-farm employment. So all these issues we need to look at as opportunities for enhancing or creating more job opportunities. So apart from this, we have another issue which I'll touch upon. I'm not going in detail. Inequality. So where poverty and unemployment is there, definitely inequality is going to be there. So there are several, a lot of literature is there, and a lot of data are also available on inequality related issues. What I would like to quote is in 2022, Government of India released a report, State of Inequality in India. So according to that report, top 1% accounts for 6 to 7% of the total income. So that means about 7% of the total income is taken by 1% of the people. And in other words, if we look at the top 10% of accounts, that means if you look at the number of accounts, take only one third of the total revenue. So that means there is huge disparity in terms of income inequality. So inequality can be looked from different dimensions. One is income, the other one is rural urban, the other one is male and female gender related equality issues, and inequality across the states. So India is a federal system. So we have states which are forward and which are backward. So across states or across geographical boundaries also we can look at inequality. So all these issues definitely which are enlarging if we look at the present data need to be addressed in in a constructive manner so that we can address the inequality. How can we address that? The government has already taken several issues like job creation, which we already discussed, female labor force participation. So female labor participation definitely adds to the household or family to overcome the poverty and definitely reduce inequality. So when we say inequality reduction, not necessary that all the income which top 1% have taken distribute among the non other people. So because that can be done through tax, but taxing the milching animal will not give more milk. Okay, it will destroy the animal. That's all. So we need to look for some other judicious manner in which we can redistribute the income and all that. Policy measures need to be developed to address the inequality issues across all these different parameters. So, towards the end, I would like to say that reduction in poverty and increase in employment may definitely reduce inequality. So, in order to address the inequality issue, reduce the poverty, and provide employment opportunities. So, all these three different aspects, though they look different, they are not different, they are interrelated. So, if you address one, two, the third one can also be addressed. So, thank you very much, Professor Reddy Garu, for giving me this opportunity to speak few things which I know about the topic. Thank you very much and thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the important information that you have given to us. And most of the discussion for the today's session was with regard to the current situation in the country and what are the major challenges and what are the different government initiatives that are in the place and how is it implemented and the importance of implementation of government initiatives at the local level and the measures that should be taken to improve such issues in coming future. So due to the time limit that we have, we can only limit the questions. Probably speakers can take two questions each. So if someone now we are opening the discussion, like if anyone has questions, you can just ask. So there is one question in the chat box. Someone has just asked in the previous conversation, they're asking how to prepare. What is the important steps to prepare for UPSC was one of the questions. So if any speaker wants to respond on it.
Yeah, I think preparing for UPSC or any other competitive examination, it's not like preparing for PhD. Okay, PhD requires in-depth analysis or in-depth understanding of the subject. But with respect to competitive examination, it is the horizon, the area. So large number of areas, a lot of areas have to be covered. So for that, what my suggestion, looking from my involvement in other activities related to competitive examination. So any student or candidate who is looking for civil services of state or national level should refer at least 3 to 4 national level newspapers for getting the current economic and all other related events issues for the past 1 year at least. So because usually the question preparation will be looking from the past 1 year or one and a half year onwards only. Depending on the subject, like if you are talking about economics, data need to be looked into because without data, economics cannot be answered. So you take science and technology, you take other fields like history, whatever area we look at. So please go through the newspapers, government reports which are available on net, like economic survey, maybe Niti Aayog's reports and all that. So definitely they will give you a kind of overview about the economy. When I say economy, economy is not only economic aspects, so it covers all the issues. So with that, I think for the prelims, that's more than enough. Definitely for mains, you have to go for the subject-wise preparation, where you have to look into the core books or what we say a kind of important textbooks of that particular subject. So that the student or candidate has to go through, and definitely you need analytical method of writing. So where a kind of analysis for the given situation is required. So descriptive, analytical, narrative. So these are all the few things which we have to keep in mind. And in the process, the points should not be left out. So you have to look at the points, and there should be a consistency or logic ordering of your answers. So otherwise, the first para, second para will not match. So that kind of answer will not get more score. So I think that way one can prepare. So with experience, definitely a lot of so means are also available nowadays through internet and all that. So one can use their support. So I think that's what I can mention for UPSC related.
So, on behalf of Sakshi Education, I would like to extend our gratitude and thanks to the speakers for the session, Professor Tamma Kotireddy and Professor Puthuswamy Garu has given their valuable time and and presentation as well, and it was really very insightful. I would also like to thank all the participants who have joined the session today. Lastly, I would also like to thank Sakshi Education for giving me such a nice opportunity. Thank you so much.
I think we should thank Vepuri Garu also for moderating the session. Thank you all. Sir, Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.